The void of space stretched endlessly in all directions, cold and silent. But silence was a luxury that few worlds enjoyed anymore. Not when the HFY were hunting. Captain Zarthok stood on the bridge of his living ship watching the stars. Through eyes that had seen 3,000 years of conquest, his massive form towered over the control panels that pulsed with organic light. 4 powerful arms moved across the bio-neural interfaces, each one capable of crushing steel. His reptilian skin bore the ritual scars of countless hunts, and his razor-sharp claws clicked against the ship's living hull. The ship itself was a thing of nightmares. It had no metal frame or mechanical parts. Instead, it was grown in the breeding chambers of the HFY homeworld. Its hull was made of hardened chitin that could heal from battle damage. Nerve clusters ran through its walls like veins, connecting the ship's consciousness to its pilot. When Zarthok thought of turning left, the ship turned left. When he wanted to fire weapons, organic cannons extended from the hull and spat plasma at his enemies. Around him, 11 other bioships moved through space in perfect formation. Each one was unique, grown to match its pilot's hunting style. Some were sleek and fast for chasing prey. Others were massive and heavily armed for breaking through defenses. All of them were deadly. The HFY had been the galaxy's apex predators for 3 millennia. They did not hunt for food or territory like other species. They hunted for the pure joy of it, the thrill of the chase, the satisfaction of the kill. It was their religion, their culture, their entire reason for existing. They had turned entire star systems into hunting preserves. Beautiful worlds that once held billions of lives now served as playgrounds where the HFY stalked the few survivors they kept alive for sport. Cities became ruins where prey could hide. Forests became mazes where hunters could practice their skills. The galaxy feared them above all else. When HFY ships appeared in a system, entire planets would shut down their communications and pray not to be noticed. Trade routes changed to avoid their hunting grounds. Even the mighty Arcturian Empire, with its massive fleets and powerful weapons, gave the HFY plenty of space. Fear was a useful tool. It made the hunt easier when prey was already terrified. Zarthok's ship detected an incoming transmission. His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Kethmore, approached, with information downloaded directly from their spy network. "Captain," Kethmore said in their harsh, clicking language, "we have new intelligence from the outer rim sectors." Zarthok turned his massive head. His yellow eyes, each the size of a human fist, focused on his subordinate. "Speak." "A new species has achieved faster than light travel. They call themselves humans. They come from a small blue world in an unremarkable system. Our scouts report they are soft-skinned and weak. No natural weapons, no thick hide or protective shells." This was interesting news. New species were rare. Most civilizations in the galaxy were ancient, having achieved space travel millions of years ago. A species just now reaching the stars would be fresh prey, untested, unprepared. "How many worlds do they control?" Zarthok asked. "Only their homeworld and a few small colonies. Perhaps 1 million individuals spread across 3 systems. Their technology is primitive. Metal ships with chemical propulsion. Basic energy weapons." Zarthok's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a HFY smile. This sounded almost too easy. His pack had been hunting the same prey species for decades. The challenge was growing stale. These humans might provide some fresh entertainment. "Show me their territory," he commanded. A holographic display materialized in the bridge's center. It showed a small section of space near the galaxy's outer rim. 3 star systems glowed softly, connected by the thin lines that marked established hyperspace routes. It was a tiny pocket of civilization surrounded by the vast darkness of unexplored space, perfect for a hunt. "They are expanding," Kethmore continued. "Our intelligence suggests they have launched several colony ships to establish new settlements. One is heading to the Kepler system. It carries 50,000 individuals. 50,000. That was enough prey to last for months if they managed it carefully. They could set up proper hunting preserves on multiple worlds. Maybe even breed the humans to create a sustainable population for long-term entertainment. What weapons do they possess? Zarthok asked. He had learned long ago that even weak prey could be dangerous if underestimated. Primitive kinetic weapons, some directed energy devices, nothing that can penetrate bioship armor. Their largest vessels carry nuclear weapons, but these are slow and easily avoided. Nuclear weapons. How quaint. The Kethvar had encountered similar technology from other primitive species. It was dangerous to unprotected targets, but their bioships could regenerate from radiation damage within hours. Zarthok studied the display for several minutes. His tactical mind, honed by millennia of successful hunts, analyzed the human territory. Only 3 systems. Limited technology. No allies to call for help. It would be a straightforward hunt, perhaps too easy to be truly satisfying. But then, again, it had been months since his pack had found worthy prey. The established species knew better than to venture into Kethvar hunting grounds. This might be their chance for some real sport. Set course for the Kepler system, he commanded. We will intercept their colony ship. The bioship responded to his thoughts before he finished speaking. Its living engines began to pulse with increased power. Around them, the other ships in the pack adjusted their formation. Within minutes, they entered hyperspace, disappearing into the swirling tunnel of folded space-time. As the stars stretched into lines around them, Zarthok allowed himself to feel anticipation. It had been too long since he had hunted fresh prey. These humans would learn what it meant to be at the bottom of the galactic food chain. The galaxy's most feared hunters were about to introduce themselves to humanity. It would be a meeting that changed everything, though not in the way any of them expected. In the cold darkness of hyperspace, 12 bioships raced toward their destination, carrying death in their living hulls. The hunt was about to begin. The colony ship UES Pioneer moved through space like a small city among the stars. Its massive hull stretched for 2 kilometers, filled with 50,000 sleeping colonists in cryopods. They dreamed of new homes on a world they would call New Denver, where their children could grow up under alien skies. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the Kepler system grow larger on the main screen. After 18 months of travel, they were finally approaching their destination. The planet waited for them, already partially terraformed by robot ships that had arrived years earlier. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Ben Carter from the communications station. "We're getting readings on long-range sensors, multiple contacts approaching fast." Morrison moved to the sensor station. 3 small dots showed Earth Defense Force frigates keeping pace with the Pioneer. Commander Lisa Park commanded the little escort fleet from her ship, the EDF Valiant. The frigates were sleek and fast, built for fighting rather than carrying colonists. "Are those our escorts?" Morrison asked. "No, sir. These are new contacts. Coming in from hyperspace. 12 ships. Unknown configuration." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. No Earth ships were scheduled to be in this system. The nearest human outpost was weeks away at maximum speed. "Red alert," he ordered. "Wake up the defense crews. Send a message to Commander Park." Alarms began sounding throughout the Pioneer. The ship's small complement of security officers rushed to their stations. In the escort ships, weapons systems came online and shields activated. The unknown ships dropped out of hyperspace like nightmares becoming real. They were unlike anything in human experience. Instead of metal hulls and sharp angles, these vessels looked alive. Their surfaces rippled and moved. Tentacles writhed along their sides. What looked like eyes or sensors pulsed with sickly light. "Dear God," whispered Navigator Amy Foster. "What are those things?" Before anyone could answer, the largest alien ship sent a transmission. The voice that came through the speakers was harsh and clicking, speaking broken human English. "Small prey things. I am Captain Zarthok of the Kethvar hunting pack. Your species is new to us. You will make good sport." Morrison stepped forward. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth colony ship Pioneer. We come in peace. We mean no harm to your people." Alien laughter filled the bridge. It was a sound like breaking glass mixed with the roar of predators. "Peace?" Zarthok's voice dripped with amusement. You misunderstand, soft skin. We do not make peace with prey. We hunt you. Your colony world will become our preserve. Your people will run through forests while we chase them. Some will live long enough to breed more prey for us. The transmission cut off. Almost immediately, the alien ships began moving into attack formation. Commander Park's voice crackled over the radio. Pioneer, this is Valiant. We're moving to intercept. Get your people to safety and prepare for emergency jump. Negative, Lisa. Our hyperdrive needs 6 hours to charge. We can't run. The 3 Earth frigates accelerated toward the alien fleet. They were tiny compared to the bioships, but their crews were determined to protect the colonists. Pulse cannons fired streams of blue energy at the approaching hunters. The energy beams struck the alien hulls and seemed to sink into the living tissue without causing damage. The bioships absorbed the attacks and kept coming. Morrison watched in horror as organic weapons emerged from the alien vessels. They looked like giant thorns or spines, glowing with contained plasma. When they fired, the beams tore through space with deadly precision. The frigate EDF Liberty took a direct hit. Its shields flared and died. The second shot punched through, the hull causing a massive explosion. 30 brave souls died in an instant. All hands to battle stations, Morrison ordered. Security teams, prepare to repel boarders. Engineering, give me everything you can on the engines. The Pioneer was not built for war. It was a colony ship with minimal weapons and thin armor. But its crew would not give up without a fight. Commander, Park's ship dodged between the alien vessels, firing constantly. Her weapons barely scratched the bioships, but she kept attacking anyway. The third frigate, EDF Courage, tried to ram one of the smaller alien ships. The bioship simply opened like a flower and swallowed the human vessel whole. Pioneer, this is Valiant. Park's voice was strained. I'm transmitting all our sensor data back to Earth. Whatever happens here, they need to know what's coming. The alien ship surrounded the colony vessel. Organic cables shot out and attached to the Pioneer's hull. The bioships began pulling the human ship toward them like spiders reeling in prey. Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Chief Engineer Tom Brooks. Something's cutting through our armor. Morrison realized what was happening. The aliens were not trying to destroy the Pioneer. They wanted the colonists alive. The thought made him sick. All security teams to Deck 7, he ordered. Repel boarders. The first Kethvar warrior that came through the hull was a monster from humanity's worst nightmares. It stood 3 meters tall with 4 powerful arms ending in razor claws. Its reptilian skin looked tough enough to stop bullets. Yellow eyes the size of dinner plates focused on the human defenders. Security Chief Rachel Morris opened fire with her pulse rifle. The energy bolt struck the alien center mass but barely seemed to slow it down. The creature moved with impossible speed, crossing the corridor in 2 bounds. What happened next surprised everyone, especially the Kethvar. Instead of running in terror, the humans adapted. They spread out to avoid the alien's reach. They aimed for joints and soft spots in its hide. When one person fell, another took their place immediately. Go for the eyes, Morris shouted. Concentrate fire on the head. The alien warrior staggered as multiple energy beams struck its face. It roared in pain and anger. More Kethvar poured through the breach, but they found the humans ready for them. Throughout the ship, small battles erupted as boarding parties tried to capture key areas. The colonists fought with tools and improvised weapons. They used their knowledge of the ship's layout to set ambushes and traps. In engineering, Tom Brooks rigged the power core to explode rather than let the aliens take control. On the bridge, Navigator Amy Foster downloaded critical navigation data to prevent the aliens from finding Earth. The Kethvar had expected easy prey. Instead, they found determined resistance from creatures that refused to accept defeat. The humans studied their attackers even while fighting for their lives, quickly learning weak points and attack patterns. Captain Zarthok watched the boarding operation from his bioship with growing confusion. These humans were not behaving like proper prey. They fought too hard, learned too fast, and showed no fear of death. After 6 hours of fighting, the Pioneer was finally captured. But the cost had been higher than any hunt in Kethvar memory. They had lost warriors to prey that should have surrendered immediately. As the surviving colonists were herded into holding areas, Zarthok studied the human prisoners through the ship's biosensors. These soft, weak creatures had hurt his pack. They had damaged his perfect hunting record. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Kethvar captain began to wonder if he had underestimated his prey. The hunt was just beginning, but already it was not going according to plan. Admiral Ryan Cooper stood on the bridge of the EDF Yorktown, staring at the tactical display that showed the Kepler system. 40 Earth Defense Force ships moved in formation around his flagship, but he knew it might not be enough. The distress signal from Commander Park had reached Earth 3 weeks ago, and the response fleet had pushed their engines to the limit to get here. "Admiral, we're picking up energy signatures from the fourth planet," reported Captain Helen Price from the sensor station. "Multiple alien vessels in orbit, and there are structures on the surface that weren't in our original survey data." Cooper nodded grimly. The aliens had turned New Denver into what they called a hunting preserve. Intelligence suggested the colonists were being released in small groups and hunted through the forests that were meant to be their new homes. "Dr. Rodriguez, what's your analysis of the alien technology?" Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked up from her research station. She had been studying every piece of data from the first encounter, trying to understand how the alien bioships worked. "The TU ships are definitely organic, Admiral. They seem to be symbiotic organisms bonded with their pilots through some kind of neural link. When we destroyed one of their smaller vessels during the rescue of Commander Park's escape pod, the ship went into convulsions before dying. The pilot appeared to feel physical pain. This was useful information. Cooper had learned long ago that every enemy had weaknesses, no matter how powerful they seemed. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We're not engaging their main force directly. These aliens expect us to attack head-on like the frigates did. Instead, we're going to show them something new." The human ship spread out across the system, using their stealth technology to avoid detection. Unlike the aliens' organic vessels, human ships were built with sharp angles and special coatings that scattered sensor beams. They could hide in the shadow of asteroids and moons, striking when least expected. On the surface of New Denver, the surviving colonists were learning to fight back in ways the Kethvar had never seen before. Former Marine Sergeant Danny Walsh crouched behind a fallen tree, watching a Kethvar hunting party move through the artificial forest. The alien warriors moved in a pattern they had used for thousands of years, confident that their prey would run in fear. "Katie, are the charges ready?" he whispered into his radio. Engineer Katie Stevens answered from her position 50 meters away. "All set, Danny. The terraforming equipment makes great explosives when you know how to rewire it." The Kethvar hunters stepped into the trap zone. Danny triggered the detonation and buried mining charges exploded in sequence. Trees fell across the path, trapping the aliens in a kill zone. Human survivors opened fire from concealed positions, using pulse rifles taken from the ship's armory. The lead Kethvar warrior roared in surprise and pain as energy bolts struck it from multiple directions. This was not how hunts were supposed to work. Prey was meant to run, not fight back with coordinated tactics. "Focus fire on the big one," Danny shouted. "Remember what Dr. Chen taught us about their anatomy." The colonists had found Dr. Maria Chen among the prisoners. She was a xenobiologist who had been studying alien life forms. During their captivity, she had observed the Kethvar closely and identified weak points in their natural armor. The joints where their forearms connected to their torso were vulnerable. Their eyes could be damaged by sustained pulse fire. Most importantly, they had a nerve cluster just below their necks that seemed to control their motor functions. The hunting party that had expected easy prey found themselves fighting for their lives against organized human resistance. When the battle ended, 3 Kethvar warriors lay dead, and 2 more were badly wounded. The humans had lost 1 person but had proven something important. They could kill their hunters. In space, Admiral Cooper's ship struck like ghosts. A lone Kethvar bioship patrolling the asteroid belt suddenly found itself surrounded by 4 human frigates. Before it could call for help, concentrated fire from multiple directions overwhelmed its regenerative abilities. The organic hull couldn't heal fast enough to survive the sustained assault. The pattern repeated throughout the system. Human ships would appear from hiding, destroy isolated alien vessels, and disappear before reinforcements could arrive. The Kethavar had never faced an enemy that refused to meet them in open battle. Captain Zarthok paced the bridge of his flagship, his forearms clenched in frustration. These humans were not behaving like any prey species in Kethavar history. They learned from every encounter, adapted their tactics, and showed no respect for the natural order of hunter and prey. "Captain, we have lost 6 ships to human attacks," reported his second-in-command. "The prey creatures are using stealth and ambush tactics. They strike our isolated vessels and retreat before we can respond." Zarthok's mandibles clicked angrily. "Increase patrols. No ship travels alone. We will show these soft-skins the price of defying the Kethavar." But even as he gave orders, doubt crept into his mind. The humans were teaching themselves to fight Kethavar warriors by studying their behavior. Each battle made them more dangerous, not less. This was completely against the natural order. On New Denver's surface, the colonists had established hidden camps in the deep forest. They used their engineering skills to build weapons from terraforming equipment and their knowledge of human psychology to coordinate resistant cells. Most disturbing to the Kethavar, they had begun hunting their hunters. Katie Stevens had rigged motion sensors throughout the forest, creating an early warning network that told the humans exactly where Kethavar hunting parties were moving. Danny Walsh trained civilian colonists in military tactics, turning farmers and teachers into guerrilla fighters. Dr. Chen continued studying captured Kethavar equipment, learning how their biotechnology worked. She discovered that the aliens' weapons and armor were also living organisms, dependent on neural connections with their users. Disrupt those connections and the equipment stopped working. The breakthrough came when a wounded Kethavar warrior was captured alive. Dr. Chen's examination revealed the extent of the neural bonding between Kethavar and their technology. The alien's bioarmor was connected to its nervous system through microscopic tendrils. Its weapons responded to thought commands. "Admiral Cooper," she reported via quantum radio, "I think I know how to level the playing field. Their technology is their strength, but it's also their weakness. If we can disrupt those neural connections, their weapons and armor become useless." Cooper smiled grimly as he received the report. "Doctor, I need you to find a way to weaponize that discovery, and I need it fast." The hunt that was supposed to last months was already shortening as human resistance intensified. The Kethavar were taking casualties they had never experienced before. Their perfect hunting record was being shattered by prey that refused to stay prey. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy's most feared hunters were learning what it felt like to be afraid. In the deep forests of New Denver, human voices whispered in the darkness, sharing knowledge and planning attacks. In the cold void of space, human ships prowled like wolves, hunting the hunters. The prey had become predators, and the galaxy would never be the same. News of the human resistance spread through Kethavar space like wildfire. Warriors who had hunted for centuries without losing a single pack member now heard stories of ships destroyed and hunting parties killed by prey. The impossible was happening, and it drew the attention of the most elite hunters in the galaxy. Supreme Hunter Varkotak received the reports in his bio-citadel, orbiting the Kethavar homeworld. The massive structure was grown rather than built, its living walls pulsing with bioluminescent displays that showed the locations of hunting fleets across known space. For the first time in his long life, red warning lights flickered where they had never appeared before. "Bring me Captain Zarthok," he commanded his subordinates. "I must understand how mere prey has caused such losses." Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital shipyards, humanity worked with desperate efficiency. The distress signals from the Kepler system had triggered a massive mobilization. Every available ship was being armed and reinforced. Scientists worked around the clock to understand the alien technology captured from battle sites. General Amanda Foster coordinated the intelligence operation from the Pentagon's deep bunkers. Maps covered the walls showing Kethavar territory and movement patterns. Human spies had infiltrated neutral trading posts, gathering information about the hunters who had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from our deep space listening posts," reported Colonel Mark Davis. At least 20 Kethvar hunting fleets are converging on human space. This isn't just one pack anymore. They're treating us as a major threat. Foster studied the tactical displays. Red dots showed enemy fleets moving toward human territory from across the galaxy. The numbers were overwhelming, but they also represented an opportunity. Good, she said grimly. Let them come. Dr. Clark, what's the status on the bioweapon project? Dr. Nathan Clark looked up from his research station. We've successfully created a virus that targets the neural networks in Kethvar bioships. It doesn't kill the ships, but it severs the connection between pilot and vessel. Field tests show the infected ships become completely uncontrollable. This was the breakthrough they needed. The virus could be delivered through modified torpedoes that would puncture bioship hulls and release the pathogen into their living systems. Within hours, entire fleets could be grounded, but their greatest asset was still missing. Commander Lisa Park had been captured during the first battle and was presumed dead. What Earth Command didn't know was that she was very much alive, imprisoned, aboard Captain Zarthok's flagship. Park had spent weeks in captivity, but she hadn't wasted the time. The Kethvar considered her a trophy from their first encounter with humans, keeping her alive to study. They didn't realize she was studying them right back. She learned that Kethvar society was built around pack hierarchy. Each hunting fleet followed an alpha leader whose authority was absolute. Kill the pack leader, and the rest would fall into chaos as they fought to establish a new hierarchy. More importantly, she discovered that the bioship's neural networks were vulnerable during the bonding process when pilots first connected to their vessels. Her chance came when Zarthok's fleet docked with a massive biostation for resupply. Park had convinced her guards that she was a broken spirit, defeated and harmless. They relaxed their vigilance just enough for her to act. Using knowledge gained from weeks of observation, she triggered a cascade failure in the station's bioneural network. Alarms shrieked through the living corridors as control systems began shutting down. In the confusion, Park freed the other human prisoners and led them toward the docking bays. "This way," she whispered to the dozen colonists who had survived captivity. "The escape pods are grown organisms too, but they respond to neural pressure. I've watched the aliens use them." The escape was a nightmare of running through corridors that writhed and pulsed around them. Kethvar warriors pursued them, but the station's systems were failing. Blast doors sealed randomly, gravity fluctuated, emergency lighting cast strange shadows that helped the humans hide. Park's group reached the escape pod bay just as Captain Zarthok arrived with his guards. The massive alien captain stood in the doorway, all four arms spread wide to block their escape. "You will not leave, small prey," he growled in broken English. "You belong to me." "I belong to no one," Park replied, raising a stolen Kethvar weapon. The bio-rifle felt alien in her hands, but she had learned how to activate it by watching her captors. The weapon fired a bolt of living energy that struck Zarthok in the shoulder. He roared in pain and surprise. No prey had ever wounded him before. The other prisoners opened fire with stolen weapons, driving the Kethvar back. Park's escape pod launched just as the biostation's main power core began failing. She transmitted everything she had learned about Kethvar weaknesses on all human frequencies, hoping someone would receive the intelligence. Admiral Cooper's fleet did receive it, just as the main Kethvar armada arrived in human space. 20 hunting fleets dropped out of hyperspace in the Sol system itself, their bioships darkening the space around Earth like a swarm of cosmic predators. "All ships, this is Admiral Cooper," he broadcast to the human fleet. "Deploy the bioweapons. Target pack leaders first. Remember what Commander Park taught us about their hierarchy. The battle for Earth's solar system became the largest space engagement in galactic history. Bioships clashed with metal vessels in a three-dimensional maze of combat that stretched from Mercury's orbit to the asteroid belt. Human ships fired modified torpedoes that delivered Dr. Clark's biovirus directly into alien hulls. The effect was immediate and devastating. Kethvar bioships began losing power as their neural networks failed. Pilots found themselves cut off from their vessels, unable to control weapons or movement. But the humans' greatest weapon proved to be psychological warfare. They had learned something crucial about Kethavar psychology during their resistance. The hunters' entire culture was built on the myth of their invincibility. They had never faced serious defeat before. Admiral Cooper ordered his ships to broadcast recordings of every Kethavar defeat on all galactic frequencies. Images of destroyed bioships and dead hunters spread across known space faster than the Kethavar could suppress them. For the first time in 3 millennia, other species saw that the galaxy's apex predators could be beaten. The psychological impact was devastating. Kethavar packs that had dominated entire sectors for centuries suddenly found themselves facing rebellion from species they had oppressed. The mystique of Kethavar supremacy crumbled as their failures spread across the stars. In the depths of space, Captain Zarthok's damaged flagship limped away from the battle zone. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The humans had not just defeated them, they had humiliated them in front of the entire galaxy. For the first time in his 3,000-year life, Zarthok felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death in battle, but fear that everything he believed about the natural order was wrong. The prey had become predators, and the galaxy's most feared hunters were learning what it meant to be hunted. The tide of war had turned, and there would be no going back. The Kethavar homeworld had never seen defeat. For 3,000 years, hunting fleets had returned victorious, carrying trophies from conquered worlds. Now the great bio-citadels that orbited the planet buzzed with panic as reports of human victories arrived daily. Supreme Hunter Varkotak stood in the central chamber of the largest citadel, his massive form trembling with rage. Around him, the hunting council gathered in emergency session. These were the eldest and most powerful Kethavar in existence, veterans of countless successful hunts. The humans must be exterminated, Varkotak declared, his voice echoing through the living walls. Not hunted, not captured, completely destroyed. They threaten our way of life. The other council members clicked their agreement. Never before had prey species inspired other races to rebellion. The humans had done something unthinkable. They had made the Kethavar look weak, but even as the council planned total war, human ships were already approaching their star system. Admiral Cooper led a fleet unlike any seen before. Alongside his Earth Defense Force vessels flew ships from a dozen other species. The Arcturian Empire had contributed heavy cruisers. The peaceful Centauri had sent medical ships. Even tiny mining colonies offered whatever vessels they could spare. The galaxy's oppressed had found hope in humanity's example. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked frantically aboard the flagship's laboratory, studying the final pieces of Kethavar biotechnology they had captured. Her breakthrough came when she realized that the aliens' greatest strength was also their ultimate weakness. "Admiral," she reported over the ship's communication system, "the neural bonding that makes Kethavar so dangerous has a fatal flaw. If we can overload their connection to the bioships, the feedback will be devastating." Cooper listened carefully to her explanation. "What do you need, Doctor?" "Permission to modify our remaining biovirus. Instead of just severing connections, I can make it cause neural feedback. It will be painful, possibly fatal to the pilots, but it's the only way to stop them permanently." It was a hard choice. Cooper had seen what the Kethavar did to their prey, but ordering what amounted to biological warfare troubled him. After a moment of thought, he made his decision. "Do it, but make sure there's a way to reverse the effects. We're fighting monsters, but we won't become them." The battle for the Kethavar homeworld began as their orbital citadels launched everything they had. Thousands of bioships swarmed out like angry insects, their living hulls pulsing with weapons that had never known defeat. The space around the planet became a three-dimensional maze of combat. Bioships dove and twisted through formations of metal vessels, their organic weapons spitting plasma at human and alien allies alike. The Kethavar fought with desperate fury, knowing that defeat meant the end of their civilization. Captain Zarthok commanded the defense from his rebuilt flagship. His body still bore scars from his encounters with humans, and his yellow eyes burned with the need for revenge. These soft creatures had shattered his perfect hunting record and humiliated his species in front of the galaxy. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship," he ordered. "Kill their leader, and the rest will scatter like proper prey." But the humans had learned too much about Kethavar tactics. Instead of clustering around their command ship, the Allied fleet spread out in loose formations that made concentrated attacks impossible. When bioships tried to swarm individual vessels, they found themselves caught in crossfires from multiple directions. The modified biovirus proved devastatingly effective. Human torpedoes penetrated bioship hulls and released the enhanced pathogen. Within minutes, affected vessels began convulsing as their pilots screamed in agony. The neural feedback was so intense that many Kethvar lost consciousness, leaving their ships drifting helplessly. Admiral Cooper watched the battle unfold from his bridge, but his attention focused on one target. Intelligence had identified the Supreme Hunter's bio-citadel as the command center for all Kethvar forces. If they could capture or destroy it, the entire defense would collapse. Commander Park, take your strike team to the citadel. Your mission is to capture the Supreme Hunter alive if possible. Lisa Park nodded grimly. Her weeks in Kethvar captivity had taught her their language and customs. She was the only human who truly understood how their society worked. Her assault team used stealth shuttles to penetrate the citadel's defenses. The living structure tried to heal the damage as they cut through its hull, but human plasma torches burned faster than biomatter could regenerate. Inside the citadel, Park led her team through corridors that pulsed with alien life. Emergency. Lighting cast strange shadows as they fought their way toward the central chamber. Kethvar warriors tried to stop them, but the humans had learned to exploit every weakness in alien anatomy and tactics. The final confrontation took place in the Supreme Hunter's throne room. Varkotak stood 3.5 meters tall, his forearms spread wide in challenge. Ancient scars covered his hide, trophies from thousands of successful hunts. "So the prey comes to me," he said in perfect English. "You cannot defeat what we are. Hunting is our nature." "Maybe," Park replied, raising her weapon. "But we're about to change what you can become." The battle was brief but brutal. Varkotak was faster and stronger than any human, but Park had studied Kethvar fighting techniques during her captivity. She knew exactly how they moved, how they attacked, and most importantly, how they could be stopped. When it ended, the Supreme Hunter lay defeated but alive. Around them, the sounds of battle began to fade as Kethvar forces throughout the system received the surrender signal. But Admiral Cooper had not come to destroy the Kethvar. As their fleets powered down weapons, and their leaders were brought aboard human ships, he made an offer that no one expected. "Your people have terrorized the galaxy for 3,000 years, he told the assembled Kethvar commanders. "But we're not here for revenge. We're here to offer you something better." The proposal was unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of extermination or enslavement, humanity offered integration. The Kethvar could continue to hunt, but as protectors rather than predators. Their skills would be redirected toward defending the galaxy from external threats. "You are warriors," Cooper explained to the stunned aliens. "The galaxy needs warriors, but it needs them fighting for civilization, not against it." Supreme Hunter Varkotak, his pride broken but his mind still sharp, considered the offer. These humans had done something impossible. They had defeated the Kethvar without becoming like them. They had shown mercy to enemies who had shown none. "You would trust us?" he asked. "After everything we have done?" "We would give you the chance to earn that trust," Cooper replied. "The choice is yours." The decision took 3 days of debate among the Kethvar leadership. In the end, they chose transformation over extinction. The species that had once terrorized the galaxy became its guardians. Dr. Rodriguez's final research logs recorded the most important discovery of all. The biovirus could be reversed and the neural connections could be healed. But more than that, the Kethvar were capable of change. Their hunting instincts could be redirected toward positive goals. Within a year, former Kethvar hunting fleets patrolled the galaxy's borders as part of the new Galactic Defense Pact. They still hunted, but now they hunted threats to civilization rather than innocent prey. The galaxy's most feared hunters had not just met their match in humanity. They had found their salvation, and in learning to protect rather than destroy, they had discovered that true strength came not from the ability to hunt the weak, but from the courage to defend them. The age of terror was over. The age of protection had begun.